Committee versus floor lobbying. Should you tackle committee lobbying differently than you do floor lobbying? Lobbying is lobbying after all. Now, while there are certainly some similarities between the two venues, there are also some important differences between lobbying legislation in a policy or fiscal committee versus on the Senate or Assembly floors. In lobbying committee, different committees, the focus is on a smaller number of legislators, obviously, and their staff. Although these days the Senate and Assembly budget committees are quite large in size. The target, of course, is to get a majority of the committee members to agree with your position in support or opposition, just as you need a majority or sometimes a higher threshold on either floor for certain types of bills. When your bill is in committee, you spend time working with the committee staff, both majority and minority party consultants, on the actual bill language and perhaps whether any amendments are necessary or appropriate. And you'll work with the consultants on their respective analyses, providing relevant information and answering their questions in the hope that their analyses will reflect your support or opposition arguments. The lobbyist also needs to determine what key points he or she is going to raise in brief testimony before that policy or fiscal committee. Committee consultants may be able to shed light on the chair's recommendation or the key points that may be persuasive to the committee members. You can also fine tune your main arguments prior to the hearing, primarily by making succinct comments in your office visits leading up to that hearing. You might want to consider asking friendly legislators to pose a question or two of either your witnesses to elicit additional points that might be able to made with the very short public testimony comments allowed. When your bill's in the fiscal committee, your focus obviously turns to the potential fiscal consequences of that bill, minimizing the potential impacts if you're a supporter of it and maximizing the projected revenue impact if you're an opponent. That can usually be addressed in a sentence or two if public comment happens to be made at the usually brief hearing in the fiscal committees. For fiscal committee and all their committee hearings, you want to determine who will be assigned to lobby the individual committee members, coordinating and tracking the outcomes of those visits. And in preparation for the hearing, decide who the main witness or witnesses are who will be providing that brief substantive testimony in support or opposition to the bill. It's also going to be important to line up additional witnesses who will express their support for your position, often referred to as Me Too testimony in the California State Capitol. Now, when a bill is on the floor of the Senate or Assembly, the lobbyist focus then turns to the entire House with the necessary vote threshold in mind. About 90% of the bills require just a simple majority, 41 votes in the Assembly and 21 votes in the Senate. A good indicator of the upcoming floor vote will be based on earlier committee votes. Since less than 1% of the bills fail passage on either floor, the outcome is generally a foregone conclusion. Nonetheless, it is still important to make the rounds, as we say, that is, visit legislative offices on a bill prior to its scheduled floor vote. Now, because you may have to get a count from most of the 40-member Senate or 80-member Assembly, it's often helpful to enlist one or more colleagues to help divide that workload. And some visits may be based upon party affiliation, some may be based on floors in the swing space, some do visits based upon individual relationships with legislative offices. Whichever approach is taken, make sure that all the necessary and appropriate offices are covered in your pre-floor lobbying efforts. For floor efforts, again, the primary work is determining who will be assigned to lobby the legislators for the floor vote, coordinate those visits, track the outcomes. You may also consider asking one or more friendly legislators to speak in support of your position on the bill while it's being debated on the Assembly or Senate floors.